When I first met Joe Nadeau, it was hard not to think of somebody's grandfather. He's a soft-spoken, likable guy who had been married for more than 30 years. And now he's waking up in the homeless shelter behind me. The idea of living on the street is a scary one for Joe Nadeau.
Well, freezing to death in the winter and how people survive.
The 81-year-old is homeless for the first time. He's one of almost 6,000 homeless individuals in the state. In May, Joe moved into this 37-bed shelter at the Friendship Service Center in New Britain.
It's a special place. It's a bed to sleep on and food to eat and to make me happy.
Widowed with health problems and saddled with debt, he had nowhere else to go. Charlotte Dupree Cologne is the client care operations manager.
So Joe first came to us for mental health. So he struggled with his mental health and then was referred to us from New Britain General. And because of that, he lost his housing.
Dupree Cologne says Joe's story is becoming more common across central Connecticut.
I think it's difficult because he's experiencing homelessness for the first time in his lifetime. There's not a lot of resources out there for elderly.
The center's CEO says Connecticut's numbers match an upward trend across the country.
It's really sad when you think about people that should be aging in place with dignity that are faced with being out in the streets, in the elements, or in an emergency shelter. It's not how we think of our parents and our grandparents having to live, but we've seen an increase in seniors nationally, and here in the state of Connecticut, about 25% of our state's population that is experiencing homelessness are also seniors.
And while some have beds with family, friends, or shelters, it's worse for others. Recent numbers show 17 of the region's 71 known unsheltered individuals, folks who don't have a traditional roof over their head, are seniors. Friendship's leaders say there are no simple solutions, that seniors living off SSI and minimum wage jobs can't afford rising rents, and that a lack of affordable senior housing doesn't help. They say the legislature needs to take action while they do what they can to help folks like Joe.
I treat people like how I would want to be treated, and I treat especially the older folks how I would want someone to treat my family, with the respect and dignity that they deserve.
It's kindness Joe doesn't take for granted.
She helped me a lot. I'm afraid to leave the place.
Our thanks to Mr. Nadeau for sharing his story. As for the Friendship Service Center, it is slated to undergo about $1 million in renovations to improve conditions here. The question now is whether that federal money will still come to New Britain under the new administration. In New Britain, I'm Keith McGilvery, Fox 61.